Great. Thank you again for having me here. And I apologize in advance. My computer just blinked off my internet. So if it does again, Drew and Megan have the slides here and we'll go from there. But so thank you again for inviting me to this webinar. I am the director at the American Lung Association and also support and coordinate the Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition. I'm going to cover about air pollution associated with lawn care equipment and what kind of emissions are created, why you should pay attention to this, and also going into some detail about a resource worksheet that you can use to find the right electric equipment to fit your needs. So this presentation had been developed in 2020 with support from Shift to Electric and Fresh Energy as well, and it continually gets updated, and so you'll hear a little more down the further into the presentation. So next slide. So before I get to the topic at hand, I wanted to take a moment and address why I am with the American Lung Association and involved in air quality and electric lawn equipment and snow blowers. So the American Lung Association mission is to save lives by improving lung health and preventing lung disease. And one strategy under that is to improve the air we breathe so that it will not cause or worsen lung disease. So our office, I mentioned before, also coordinates the Minnesota Clean Cities Coalition, which is one of nearly 90 coalitions throughout the country in the U.S. Department of Energy's Clean Cities program. The coalitions are made up of stakeholders working to foster the nation's economic, environmental, and energy security by working locally to advance affordable domestic transportation fuels, energy efficient mobility systems, and other fuel-saving technologies and practices. So this can be done through the use of alternative fuels like biofuels and electricity and other strategies that reduce our country's dangerous dependence on petroleum. Next slide. So again, as Drew mentioned, we're going to be covering a couple of different topics about general technology advances, the benefits of it, what's on the market, what to consider, battery capacity and electricity costs, and care and maintenance, and then have a little bit of time for questions, I think. Again, this was developed with support from Shift to Electric, and I am not a math guru. So if you have any deep dive questions, I will direct you in future questions to Shift to Electric and other resources. Next slide. So what is happening with all this cool electric technology and batteries? As you can see, in 2010, the batteries cost over $1,000 per kilowatt hour. And now we're seeing they are just in 2018, they're just over $100. And that's why we are seeing all this electric technology in so many areas. Also coming along is renewable energy. You can see with Excel's energy grid, it's getting cleaner all the time. And they're coming down fast. So that means our equipment is producing much less and our footprint is much cleaner every day. Next slide. So what many people don't realize is that emissions from mobile sources, the vehicles and equipment we use almost every day, are the largest sources of pollutants in Minnesota. And that is why we focus in my program on fuels and vehicles. So air pollution affects everyone, but can be especially harmful to the young and elderly, as well as anyone with respiratory conditions like asthma and COPD. People of color and low-income communities are also disproportionately impacted. And this is true in part because their communities tend to have higher rates of respiratory conditions and other health conditions that are worsened by air pollution. They're also more likely to live and work in the areas with higher levels of air pollution, like near the busy roadways. And there's also growing evidence that seems to demonstrate that people who live in areas with higher levels of air pollution are more adversely affected by COVID-19. Last year, the Lung Association put out a report called Road to Clean Air Report, where if you Google this, you can find it. And it talks about the benefits of moving to all electric and what is actually happening in these communities with the big numbers. Next slide. So tonight, we're here to talk about air pollution associated with yard equipment and snow blowers. Snow blowers create 1 pound of carbon monoxide emissions per hour, which is equivalent to driving a car for 70 miles. A lawnmower is about 11 vehicles. At least 17 millions of gasoline are spilled annually just filling yard equipment. And it is also, this fact can also be applied to all the equipment with spillage and fuel theft, which being caused major costs for fleets and consumers as well. On the left, the pie graph is provided by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, showing the breakdown of pollutants in the big picture, which is part of the second largest source of pollutants. And the right graph shows the rate of increase of employees oh, sorry, I updated these graphs here, but the other graph here just shows the breakdown as well. Next slide. This is what happens when I combine fall and winter presentations, sorry. So according to the most recent study conducted by the EPA, gasoline-powered garden and lawn equipment emits a significant amount of pollutants. Over the course of 1 year, approximately 26.7 million tons of pollutants are emitted by gasoline-powered lawn and garden equipment. These are very large numbers, and they are especially important considering that the source of emissions is in such close proximity to the equipment operator. And while not everyone may think about the ways that their gasoline-powered lawn equipment impacts their health, I would like to talk specifically about the health impacts of the 3 pollutants that folks are probably less familiar with, which include particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. Next slide. So with particulate matter produced by gasoline-powered equipment has a range of sizes, and the really small particle matter is of most concern. The particles that are smaller than 2.5 micrometers in diameter, and this matter is called PM 2.5, and you can see in this visual that 20 PM 2.5 particles can fit across the width of a single human hair. PM 2.5 can also get into and irritate your eyes and airways, and it is also small enough to get deep into your lungs and cause problems with the respiratory and cardiovascular systems. Short-term exposure to fine particles can cause a variety of health problems, as shown in the previous slide. And over time, breathing these fine particles in the air increases your chances of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, chronic bronchitis, cardiovascular disease, or lung cancer. Next slide. Next one is VOCs, and nitrogen oxides that are emitted by this equipment are significant pollutants because of their contribution to the formation of ground level ozone. The VOCs react to the nitrogen oxides to create ozone molecules, and then the UV radiation from the sun speeds up the reaction, which is why ground level ozone production is higher on hot, sunny days. Exposure to ozone is likened to a sunburn of the lungs and can trigger or exacerbate asthma and other lung conditions, which can then lead to emergency room visits and hospitalizations. Next slide. So that's the heavy duty information here. Now this is a little more fun information about why you're here tonight with us. So we put together this worksheet of different resources with a variety of different prices and the different attributes of it. So using this electric lawn equipment is a great way to reduce the pollution that you generate and expose yourself to. This document shows there are currently many available models, and we have compiled a snowblower information list as well as a few other ones, including lawn equipment, handheld equipment such as saws and tree cutters and so forth. And you can find all this information on electriclawninfo.org. The first column is the name of the manufacturer, and next to is the model number of the equipment and a photo. We have the clearing width, the clearing depth, throwing distance, weights, battery size, amp hours of each battery. And there's also the voltage and battery capacity, watt hours, advertised runtime, staging, and if it's self-propelled or not, or corded or not. So finally, this information is about the retail price, the length of the warranty, and what other outdoor equipment is compatible with the batteries that are bought with the equipment. And so almost all the batteries used in these can be used with other outdoor equipment produced by the respective manufacturers. So we have a list. So we listed the other equipment you can see the batteries can be used with, and there's a key found at the bottom. So this list will tell you what abbreviations are in the column means. So their intuitive CS is chainsaw, HT is hedge trimmer, and so forth. Next slide. So again, just a quick overview. We've done, we have 4 different kinds of electric info lists and over nearly 3,000 data points. So it is a little overwhelming when you think about it, but this next section here will kind of help you think through what you need to consider. So again, talking about the benefits of it, you know, they use less energy, there are no emissions, they're much quieter. You know, when you want to start using your lawn equipment in the morning or later in the evening, you're not bothering your neighbors as much, less vibrations, no need to mess with gas. You know, we talked about spillage and theft. It always starts, when you look at the long term of this, it's cheaper to use, easy maintenance, lighter weight, and then easy storage. Next slide. So you want to think about, for the equipment, do you want corded or non-corded? Corded, I personally have a corded lawnmower, which is easy to use as my lawn is not too big. And, you know, it's more affordable that way. I was able to find mine on a Facebook Marketplace. You know, it's a little bit lighter. It's, you have to have accessible outside outlets, and you don't mind dealing with the cord. With the battery mower, you don't want to deal with the cord. You're looking at a self-propelled mower, which is easier to handle. You want to use the same batteries with the other yard equipment. So these are all benefits, and really a lot of people have started with a corded, and then when they upgrade, they move to another, to a cordless machine. Next slide. So when you're looking at your mower, you want to consider the size of your lawn. And this is a simple, easy formula. Looking at your city lot, you know, for consideration, this is, again, Shift to Electric Yuka's lot here with it's 40 by 120 feet. So that equals 4,800 square feet. And then you take out the house, garage, driveway, sidewalks, paths, landscaping, and that will end up with 3,000 square feet. You want to also consider how often do you mow, and how short do you cut every time. So with that comes the consideration of the battery capacity, and then the deck diameter, what length, width of the cutting. And if you cut rarely and with long grass, again, you want to consider using a higher voltage. Next slide. So here we're going into a little bit about the battery capacity and electricity costs. Again, on every battery, there's the overview information about it. Is the simple formula of how you figure out your voltage for your amps to what equals your kilowatts. And again, thinking about your non-propelled versus your self-propelling too, and how that impacts the battery capacity range. Adding capacity by buying a second battery is always a great option. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of batteries and equipment that go across a variety of types of equipment, you know, the chainsaw, the hedge trimmer, so forth, snowblower to lawnmower. And so these are all interactive. And with this formula, you can typically mow an average city lot for 33 cents on the dollar. Next slide. Care and maintenance is very easy. It's just, you know, this is a picture on the side with you just need to clean off the bottom here, just like a regular mower, checking the blade at the same time you sharpen, you know, if it needs to be sharpened. Typically, if you are not using that battery in the winter for your snowblower, you want to leave it at 3/4 charged in the fall. Some people like to baby their batteries and bring them in. With mine, again, I have a corded one, so I don't worry about batteries at all, but I know a lot of people just bring their batteries into the house for the winter. But if you do leave it out in the garage, it doesn't have a big impact. And from the many years of experience that we've been seeing on the EV owners in some of the other panels we've led. Next slide. So again, going through your considerations, do you want self-propelled or not? Do you need to collect or mulch or both? Is it automatic blade speed adjustments, cutting height, weight, and the warranty? And this is all shown on those sheets as well. Really, you want to think about what your lawn is and what you want to fuss with and what is not a big deal. With my lawn, it's a lot of different curves and kind of hills and bumps. So I like to be able to have the 4-wheel adjuster so it can adjust the height for a corner if I'm going into a low spot or not. But it's not rocket science to figure out what you like. And next slide. With the riding mowers and robot mowers, these are a little bit higher end. The riding mowers, there's a sheet for that. And typically it's more commercial or bigger lots. Obviously they're more expensive for the riding mowers. And then with the robot mowers, you can still find them just at any Home Depot or your hardware store. They keep the grass mowed all the time. You bring it out in the spring and then it goes in the fall itself, charges automatically, can work the hills, convenient. And when we say expensive, they're starting at about $1,500 or so from what we've seen on prices this last year. Next slide. So typically in the presentation, this is where we would go into Yuka's garage and he would actually show a variety of mowers that he's collected. And so if you're interested later, you can click on this link here and you can go to minute 36 and you'll be able to see a variety of him going over it. But I don't know, are we able to do that for a few minutes here or?
Yeah, I'm just seeing if I can copy the link.
And then you'll have to fast forward it to minute 36. So he'll kind of go over a lot of what we've talked about before, but it's nice to see him flipping things over and showing the different fold downs and so forth.
And what was the minute time we should put it to?
36.
36 seconds?
Minute 36. And so while we're waiting for this to start up, if anyone, how many people have used an electric mower or equipment before? Can you raise your hand or show a reaction? So we have 1, 2, 3, 3 out of 4. Nice. 4 out of 12. Okay. Is anyone thinking about using electric in the future or considering one? Nice. Really, there's a really nice 2 people. Okay, great. There's really a nice variety again of all price ranges that you can find out there. They go anywhere. I got my used one corded for $20, but typically they're $50 used and go up from there. But you can find them on Amazon or any hardware store.
Awesome. Well, I think I got the video queued. So let me just share my screen.
Great.
Let's see if this works.
All right. See how the sound is over the recording of a recording.
You guys hear that?
Nope.
Oh, you can't. Let me see. I might have to. Your audio. Share. Try it. Oops.
Perfect.
Can you hear that now?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Oh.
You can't hear him talk?
Nope.
Huh.
It almost sounded like it
Oh, maybe I should
started.
unplug my headphones and then you could hear. Let's try that. That good? Okay. Too loud?
It's yeah, it's pretty garbled. I can narrate while he's talking here. So he has 3 mowers there, and he's just pointing out the snow blowers again, the different capacities, what you're thinking about considering. I think people can go to this and see on their own time too. This is too cumbersome. So yeah, this is where he's showing the battery pack, how it fits in. And this is another battery charger component that fits with that brand. Simple charging cord.
Can't hear it at all. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can
but
hear
you couldn't
you.
hear the video.
No, I'm wondering if there's like a separate audio share that you have to do.
Usually there is.
Yeah.
Seems like.
That's so strange.
But I think going to the video too at a future time is a good resource for.
Trying to share computer audio.
And either way, we're going to share that video too with this link also when you go onto our sustainable Minnetonka page. But
Great.
yeah, we can keep working to see if we can get it here.
Well, we saw a few of his pieces. I don't know how long that clip was, Lisa.
It's a few minutes, and he's just kind of really goes in the different detail about the batteries and more in depth than what I just talked about with my slides. Can you hear me? Anyone hear me? Okay.
Okay, continue.
All right. So again, just showing how they can fold down the mowers, very collapsible for the most parts, easy to manage. For the bigger machines, you can put two batteries in versus just one, so that gives you more power for the bigger lawns. And again, you saw the wide variety of equipment that's available, the different brands, Toro, EVgo, Black & Decker, pretty much Steel, everyone's favorite brand, pretty much has its own electric line now. And so with that is my last slide here. Just going over some of the resources that are available. Electric lawn equipment, electriclawninfo.org is where you can get to all these videos, the different sheets. Were updated in July this year, and it is a very long list, and we cannot guarantee that we are capturing all of the companies that are out there as the equipment changes fast, and also with the pricing, how things are changing with supply and demand as well. You want to be sure to check with your utility and see if there's any rebates. I know for sure Dakota Electric and East Central Electric in Minnesota currently has them. I'm not sure about Excel for lawn equipment, but Excel does have some really fantastic rebates and incentives for the electric vehicles. We had talked a little bit about wanting to go into more depth about indoor air quality and equipment, which I did not have any resources or slides available for, but you can visit this website, lung.org, indoor air, or click on the link healthy air quality in your home, and you'll be able to get to a wide variety of resources, tips, talking about the humidity, the ventilation in your system, how to keep the pollution out, what to consider, different times of the year, what you should be thinking about. And again, thank you for inviting me for this webinar. And just to reiterate that this presentation was developed in 2020 with support from Shift to Electric and Fresh Energy. So with that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them or send you to a resource that would be be able to find the answer later.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you. You provided a lot of information efficiently. My question is, how long has your organization been focused on gas-powered lawn equipment? My first question.
Okay. Our program at the American Lung Association falls in clean air or health promotions, and we've been doing work with vehicles since the mid 90s. Started out with work with ethanol, and then moved into ethanol, and then the biofuels and gaseous fuels. And since 2009, we've been working more actively and quite expansively on electric. With lawn equipment, it just has been in the last probably 2 years that we've been participating in this program and developing these resources.
My second question, if I may, are you aware of the growing number of municipalities that are either banning them outright or curtailing them or providing some kind of buyback incentive to get rid of the gas and go electric?
Yeah, MPCA has had, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has had a really great program in the past few years. I think it's going away if it hasn't already. We have talked several times about investigating hosting a program such as that ourselves, but it's a little bit outside of my direct work scope, so we have not developed it yet, but it is a great opportunity to consider. And we've also pulled together a ordinance sheet of different ordinances around both the country and trying to find more for the Minnesota area. So if a community is interested, we'd be happy to share that for examples of what might be helpful to your community for different ordinances that have worked or been developed.
Can you think of an example of a good strategy for a municipality to raise awareness and be a facilitator in converting away from this gas equipment?
I apologize, I don't have any off the top of my head, but I'd be happy to share this ordinance sheet with Drew and Megan, and they can share that with everyone and possibly on your websites.
Thank you.
Sure, and I was just going to step in here for a quick second. I think I heard, John, your question about what is ways to maybe we can get the community more involved with learning about these equipment. And the city next year in 2022, we're planning on having an all-electric day. So the focus around that, a lot of it's going to be around vehicles, looking at different electric vehicles you can have, but also we're looking into doing something to also bring in outdoor equipment. So the focus will be again on multiple different things you can do with electric, and we're in the early stages, so we don't have a date yet. It just actually got approved recently by our Sustainability Commission to put in their work plan. Still, that'll be going to council to finalize, but something we are sort of in the early stages of looking at doing is having sort of an event like that to spread the word about different ways that people can go electric with their different equipment.
Thank
And
you.
I would encourage everyone to ask their school districts and their communities, if they're part of a golf course, to consider switching to electric or alternative fuels. If electric isn't a possibility, there are other opportunities with biodiesel, propane, and ethanol as well, too.
I think I am able to get the video sound. If we want to try that again. Let me just share. How many minutes was it?
It was at mark 36.
Yeah, it went.
And I think it's maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. I can show that unless other folks have questions they want to get in before I do that. Otherwise, if any come up, we can put them in the chat during the video as well. Let me just see if I can do this.
Brands, we just happen to have these.
We're good? All right.
Eagles happen to be mine. Ryobis happen to be my neighbors. We are really not trying to highlight any certain makes and models. this has happened to be the easiest for us to be available. And there, I haven't seen a huge differences between different models. They all seem to be very good. That's us. We are not trying to promote certain makes and models. So I'll show you first how to, if we look at the Myego here, so how to work with that. Here's the mower, and here's the battery, and here's the charger for it. So charger is a very simple unit. You just plug it in the wall, and then you drop this battery in there, and that's that. That's how you charge it. And then when you want to take it out, you just open this here and plug the battery in there, close that, and you're good to go. You have a safety switch there, 2 safety switches actually. You have to put the key in here, and then you have to pull the lever towards you for it to work. So that's how it would run. I won't be running it inside here though, so I'm just taking the battery out because I want to work with show you this unit. Again, if you're doing anything with the mower, you should just take the battery out, and then it doesn't have a power unit there, so it's safe for you to work with it. All right, so this one has a leaf collection back here. Very easy to take out and then put back into there. So that's that. I'm just taking it off right now. I'm showing you the other things. This has a height adjustment for this, so many of them do have a height adjustment for the at least a couple of settings there for how high this bar is. But then if you are want to store this, you just open these, push this one in there, close those back, then move this one up, and it's easy to store. So this is how I had, for example, during the winter time, I just put it by one wall, and it's easy to store that way. It's very easy to handle with just one hand. And then I'm showing you here the inside, how you can see the blade here. Again, I have the battery off, so now I can touch the blade here. So you can see the blade condition very easily here. It's easy to clean here if I need to clean it with this one, and that's about it. One thing that I wanted to also show you here, setting it back up here to ready to go. Here's a lever that you use to adjust the height. So it's a one lever operation here. It's very easy to adjust the height with this one. Some of them have individual height adjustments, and some people actually prefer the individuals if they have certain use case where they want to do that. I don't care. One works well for me, and it's easy to do with this one. The Ryobi here is very similar to that, so I don't go too much into details with this one. The only thing that my neighbor said that this locking here that locks the bar, these tend to come loose a little bit, so he has to figure out the one fix for that. This one has very powerful lights here in front too, so that if my neighbor decides to mow the lawn in the nighttime, he can do it with these lights. So that's that. This also has a one handle adjustment for the height. Very easy to do that. And the same way here, you put the battery, or actually this has a place for 2 batteries here. So this one can have a storage battery for second one because it has a little smaller batteries. So you can have 2 full batteries there when you start, and then when you let's say that you go through the half of the lawn or more, and then you're like, okay, I'm running out of this one battery. You just flip the other batteries around there, and then you have a full battery there for your mowing available for you. So that's that. Oh, but by the way, this is a self-propelling one too. So this one could self-propel too. All right, what should we check out next? Well, next I'll show you the snowblower. we'll hope that we don't need this anymore this spring. We shouldn't. These ones are very easy to use. The same thing, battery goes in here. Use it the same battery here. Same kind of a system for starting it. The direction here for the chute, and then height of the thing there. And it has, this one has nice rubber blades for it. I like this a lot. Very easy and very light unit to use. That's a good thing about these things, because it doesn't have an engine, so it's much lighter and still does the same job in there. All right, let's talk about blowers. Here's a Ryobi one. The battery on this one goes on top. So I have the battery here, and you pop it right here. Boom, and you're ready to go with this one. So that's how simple it is with this. And then the Ego one, again, battery in this one goes underneath it, so it's a little different in that way. But these are very easy and light, especially when you don't have a battery. This is my one finger working with this, but very powerful units. You can adjust the power here with there's a little dial here that you can do that, and very simple and easy. I have also a corded blower that I used to use, and I thought, why do I need the battery powered blower? I have the corded one, and it kind of works really well, that one too. But truthfully, this is so convenient and easy to use because I don't have to think about the cord at all. I need use to blowing something. I just take this one, pop the battery in, and go and do it wherever I want. It is just a easier unit to use.
Awesome. So that was actually helpful to, I think, see some of these things if we haven't yet. And I love that you're able to use, one battery for multiple pieces of equipment. I do that with my own, so I think that's a great benefit too. Any other questions from folks or comments before we wrap up here? And corded too. I know he was just showing batteries, but Lisa, you have a corded lawnmower.
Yep. And again, small lawn, and I have patience to work the cord around. But I hear as many people, they run over the cord and they just splice them back together. So, it's many different cases. One thing we didn't touch on that we usually get asked about is the sustainability of the batteries and recycling. And nearly every battery that we've seen actually has the process how to recycle it. And typically it gets recycled through a system that's instructed on the battery, and it gets broken down and used in different capacity. And the battery recycling programs are just like we talked about, the renewable power being becoming so much better and more available. Battery recycling is becoming a better story too. I mean, we're not there yet, but it is something that everyone is paying attention to.
Good to know.
I have a comment for Drew, if I may.
Yeah.
Sure. What do we got, John?
Okay. And the broader topic of sustainability is not really the intent, I don't think, of this program, which was very helpful, in showing us some options. But the broader topic that you might consider when you're looking at Minnetonka and the long term and global warming and air pollution and health and lungs and so on is, number one, is the green carpet lawn a long-term, even a medium-term sustainable model, right? Pesticides, herbicides, equipment, trucks to haul the clipping. I mean, it's an incredible, the water. So I don't know that green carpet lawns in a sustainability context, even medium term, are sustainable, number one. Two, I live in a suburb. I like my lawn, but I'm converting my backyard away from that. So it still looks appropriately suburban to the people that drive by, but the back is going to be friendly and so on. And I think that needs to be emphasized. Finally, and this isn't what a great person I am, it's just that I finally figured this out. A blower to do my lawn with leaves, because I'm surrounded by oak trees, I get tons of leaves, is a lousy way to do it. Because a blower is like a tidal wave. You know, you start and then you blow it and it gets bigger and the pile gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Pretty soon, you know, you're trying to move a ton of leaves with this wind machine. So sustainability is about rakes and tarps and composting. You know, so I can rake my yard. It maybe takes 20% more time than a blower. It doesn't cost me any money. It doesn't make any noise. It doesn't bring the particulates out of the lawn that were mentioned as a health hazard for your lawn. So that's it. Much more to do in sustainability context.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's why we're here, to have these conversations. I know something that is a lot of people aren't aware of and didn't know is the city of Minnetonka does allow you to do native plantings, and I'll be very specific about that. That doesn't mean, hey, I'm not going to mow my lawn and we're to call that a native
No.
plant when it gets up to be really tall. But no, there is something, and definitely we have a very good natural resources department. So if anyone is out there and thinking, hey, I want to have, you know, don't want to mow, I don't want to do all these different things, there are options for that. There's ways to do it. You do need to be very thoughtful about what plantings you're doing and how you do that. And again, that's where our natural resources staff come in, who can give tons of advice on that. So that is one option for folks if they want to go that route, and we're happy to help with where we can with that. So just want to give that one little piece of advice out there. And then I think Anne had a question too. I see your hand up.
I just wanted to ask about the decision whether to buy a new or used electric lawnmower. Like, what is the lifespan of an electric mower, or how do you know how much life there's left in the battery if you buy it used? And is it worth it to buy used? How expensive are they if you buy them new?
Yeah, I guess I haven't heard anyone complain about buying a used battery or cordless mower. There's a group, if you're on Facebook, EV owners group, and they talk a lot about their different equipment, or if you put a question out there, they're always willing to give their real life experiences. And again, I think if you're buying a used battery, you can, you know, power it up and see how much does it charge up before you actually purchase it. But we haven't heard any complaints in the grand scheme of things. They haven't been on the market that long, but I had electric lawnmower that was close to 18 years old, and it died, and then I upgraded to a bigger size, but still corded. And we were actually just going to get another used one for even cheaper and put a motor in if you're handy enough, but decided we've had this other one fall into our lap. So depends on how handy you are for what options are out there.
And did you already address the question about how long you can expect the battery to last?
Yeah, and I think it depends on the size of the battery too, and how often you're mowing and what kind of equipment you're using. So I don't have any specific details to go into, but if you go back on the slides with the formula, you can probably see how long it lasts. And they typically go by hours, and that is on the spreadsheet, on the worksheet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and for the pricing of them, like I just did a quick Google search, like Home Depot, looks like you can get one for like $120 up to like $500, I think, depending on the size of the battery, the kind of bells and whistles. And I think it's probably around a couple hundred for other types of equipment too, maybe snow blowers a little bit more. I'm not sure how much you get them for used. You know, obviously that's the seller's call, but maybe half the price, or yeah, depending on how old it is. Looks like there's some good conversation in the chat of just saying, you know, kind of mulching the leaves into the ground until you need to kind of do a final one before winter. And I think we were mentioning there's some great rebates from Excel Energy for EVs, and you can check out what is available for other types of equipment, more high energy efficient equipment, more equipment that use electrification. So yeah, all good things to think about. Any other last thoughts before we go, or any questions for Lisa? And there's a question in chat for who sees these webinars. This will be posted on the City of Minnetonka website. So
yeah, that's a good question. I haven't actually gone back to check all the numbers. I should check them more recently. They're on YouTube. So you go to our page. We have a YouTube channel, the City of Minnetonka, and that actually shows how many views get on each one. So you can check to see, hey, have a lot of people check this one out? People check like this one. So I don't have numbers off the top of my head. I'd have to go and check those out. I should though.
yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone joining us tonight and for the thoughtful discussions and questions. And thank you so much to Lisa for being here with us and presenting this great information. Hope you all have a great rest of your night.